I'm thinking like bingo nights, right? Karaoke nights or creative spaces nights, things like that. Just a place and a space for people to come together, encounter the Lord, but also be around other believers. Hi everyone, Belinda here, your host, and welcome back to another episode of Rooted, our founder story for A Rose in Bloom. Like I was saying last time, these next few episodes are focused on the pillars of what will make up A Rose in Bloom beyond just the podcast. And today in this episode, I'm going to be speaking about our live events and creating moments where people can come together and just encounter the Lord in that way. So let's get into it. So I'm really big on creating intentional spaces where people can come together and feel like home. And outside of retreats, like I talked about in the last episode, I really felt that there was a need for us to do this in the community space. It doesn't have to be as intimate as the retreats are, where we're going away for a weekend and spending time with each other. Things can happen right here in the community. And so our first go at that was Faith in Full Bloom, our live show that we had earlier this year. And it was amazing. I've always wanted to get into the live podcasting thing. Didn't really know what it would look like. So I was like, Lord, let's just focus on this first step, the podcast, and see what it'll look like when we can get to that live podcasting. Now, it did come way earlier than I thought it would in our podcasting journey, but it happened and it was amazing. Especially creating that space where women came together and heard from panelists live. It wasn't like a pre-recorded batch thing that comes out every week. It was a moment where people came together and could hear our panelists live, hear their stories, and we could talk and interact with people right then and there and leave fed. And I just think spaces like that are so important because you actually get to almost touch the person and see the person, right? And as someone who's really big on community, having events and creating spaces where people can come together is my chef's kiss. I love doing things like that and cultivating those spaces. And so even when I look at Faith in Full Bloom, there was a lot of intentionality behind making sure the panelists were okay, letting them know what they're walking into, a color scheme, a lookbook, so that you could have that experience. Now, granted, it was in the middle of winter, it was supposed to be that cold that day, but the Lord really came through. Glory be to God. Because we did it on our 2nd year anniversary. So that's the middle of February. But God still showed up, and I wanted to make sure that the experience people got was still warm and cozy and being with people. So that was what the scheme was about, right? Obviously creating our brand colors and making sure that things were aesthetically pleasing, but making it feel like we are still warm together, feeling the Lord's presence there. And so from the panelists end, it was making sure that they were staying together, right? And creating community in that way, making sure that the day before the show, we all met and had a dinner and got to know each other more. And then also creating a lookbook for the guests or the attendees coming, right? So that they had that full A Rose in Bloom experience. Honestly, even now as I think about it, I kind of wanted to emulate our retreats to the live show. I wanted it to feel almost as intimate as that, but we are in a broader sense. Anybody can come and it's just about community. And so that was great. It was amazing. And I really look forward to doing more, right? When I think of the type of events that we are going to do, I think of more live shows, pop-ups, right? Partnering with different brands and people to make sure that you have the opportunity to encounter the Lord, but also do it within community, right? I'm thinking bingo nights, right? Karaoke nights or creative spaces nights, things like that. Just a place and a space for people to come together, encounter the Lord, but also be around other believers and learn about each other and get to know the Lord in that way. And again, really big on community, really big on friendships. So also creating a space and opportunity for people to come together and meet other believers who are walking the same walk and grow and do life together. That's a really big deal for me. And so when I think of these live events and live podcasts and pop-ups and things of that nature, that's always the goal, for people to leave encountering the Lord, for people to leave knowing that they are not alone, and for people to network and grow in community so that they can one day do life together. Because again, I always say it, we are not called to do this life alone. And if there's anything I can do to stop that mindset of doing life alone, baby, I will. Okay. And so for A Rose in Bloom, that's one thing that we are very big and focused on, creating that community aspect, creating those events so that people can come together and ultimately do life together, right? And encounter the Lord in that way. So super excited for all the things that we have planned, for more things done in person and live. And if you are interested in what we're doing next, okay, go ahead and subscribe to that newsletter and go check us out on our website, because we have a lot of things planned coming up soon. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me on this mini episode where I talk about our live events, what goes into it, the thought process behind it, and our ultimate goals with that. I look forward to continuously doing more of that, and what the Lord is going to do through those live events and how he's going to show up in all of that. So thank you so much for joining me today and listening to me on this episode, talking about our foundation and pillar of live events and pop-ups and things of that nature. If you want more information, like I said earlier, subscribe to our newsletter and go ahead and check us out on our website, where you can get more information for when the next event is happening, because baby, it's happening soon. Okay. So I'll talk to y'all next episode. Until next time, continue blooming to the roses God's called you to be. You're listening to A Rose in Bloom podcast, a production of A Rose in Bloom, where women's stories bloom in Christ. Thanks for watching. See you next time.